What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday. Welcome to another edition of Giants Collective. The band is back together, joined by Adriana down there, Anthony over there, Chris down there. We appreciate you tuning in. If you are watching on YouTube, do us a favor, hit the thumbs up. It helps out the stream. Hit the subscribe button. We came in 3 away from 6,600. You can check us out on Instagram and TikTok. You can check us out wherever you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, iHeartRadio, all that good stuff. And if you listen to us on Amazon, if you listen to us on Apple, it'd be great if you could leave us a 5-star review. That would help out bigly. And, of course, we want to give a shout-out to our sponsors, Sleeper and SeatGeek. Of course, let's make sure this works right now, and it did. This portion of Giants Collective brought to you by our friends at SeatGeek, and all you got to do is click the link in the description, enter the promo code Giants Collective 10 and get 10% off any tickets at SeatGeek. That includes things that are not the Giants, because why the hell would you ever want to watch the Giants? I don't know anybody that does right now, although this game is very interesting. We all hope that you had a very Merry Christmas. You enjoyed the day yesterday with friends and family, whatever you did. If you celebrate Christmas, you hope you had a great one. The Giants have had a lot of shitty performances this year. A lot of disappointing performances, a lot of underachievers. Dexter Lawrence comes to mind. He's been bad. Darius Slayton, been fucking terrible. Of course, we've dealt with some injuries. One guy that has not been terrible is Wan'dale Robinson. He's actually been really good. Obviously, he's a free agent in the upcoming season. He may get 1,000 yards. So, Adriana, what do you think about, well, first of all, how was your Christmas? And what do you think about Wan'dale Robinson getting 1,000 yards? What do you think the Giants should do with him in the offseason?
I had a great Christmas. Thank you. We were in New Jersey with my side of the family and then home in Connecticut with my in-laws. So it was nice. We didn't have to do a ton of travel. And now we're home ready to enjoy this snowstorm, which I'm looking forward to.
Snow.
I'm just glad it didn't happen on Christmas and we got stranded somewhere or had to cancel everything. So it's fine. I'm home this weekend with no other plans except watching the stupid football game on Sunday. But other than that, Wan'dale, I listened to Jackson Dart's press conference and he said that him and Wan'dale talked about it, and Wan'dale actually brought some stats to him that basically showed that no one of Wan'dale's size in the NFL have ever had 1,000-yard season. So it's a big deal for Wan'dale. And the two of them talked about it, and I'm sure they strategized on ways that they can try to make it happen in the next 2 games. I believe he only needs 99 yards, so he's right there. And I think it's very capable of happening against a really bad Raiders defense. We'll see, when we talk about the Cowboys game, their defense has been playing better, although they're still not great. But I think this is a week where it very much could happen. I'm expecting a different game plan from Mike Kafka against this defense. Again, knowing that I think they're going to let Jackson Dart throw the ball a little bit more. I'm sure you guys watched the Lions-Vikings game and watched what Brian Flores did to Jared Goff. Yeah. So, after watching that, I'm like, I still don't like what Kafka did, but maybe I can't 100% blame him for doing that after that showing. But it is what it is. So I really like Wan'dale Robinson. I think he's a good football player. I do not think that the Giants should re-sign him because I think, yes, there are a lot of holes on this football team, but the reality is that we essentially have 2 wide receivers coming back next year in Darius Slayton and Malik Neighbors. And you could say, well, that's exactly why we need to bring back Wan'dale Robinson. And I'm not going to argue with you. I think that's a fair point. But the reason why I want an upgrade there is because we know that someone like Malik Neighbors is capable of being a great slot receiver. He can play the inside and the outside. And I would like another wide receiver that also has that versatility. I think it can only benefit this Giants offense to have a couple players at the wide receiver position that can rotate and offer different things. We're going to have a new coaching staff, hopefully a more creative offense. And, I just think that can really benefit us if we can have another big wide receiver like Malik Neighbors, someone who's good at yak yardage, someone who's reliable from a catch standpoint, who can be utilized in different ways. So, Wan'dale has done some of the post routes and deep routes and stuff like that. I want to win football games, and I think that means that this team needs upgrades at different positions, and I would really like that in the slot or wide receiver position.
Anthony, what do you think? Well, how was your Christmas, number one? And what do you think about Wan'dale Robinson, obviously just 99 yards away from reaching 1,000, which he should. What do you think the Giants should do with him in the offseason?
Well, I had a nice Christmas and I got a couple Giants presents, but this year, it's always great to get a Giants present, but then you look at it and you're like, "Oh, I wish they were good. I wish that I could show this off and be really excited about it." No, of course I am. And I had a great Christmas with the family and stuff. The only thing I want for Christmas, can the Giants just be good? That's what I want.
Right.
We start winning football games when they matter, because they're going to win this one tomorrow probably, or Sunday probably. It's only going to matter because it's going to hurt the Giants, and that's going to piss everybody off. But in terms of Wan'dale Robinson, what an exciting talent he's been this year. Would I want to pay him $20 million per season? No. And honestly, that's where his price tag is moving. According to the reports, he circled the Khalil Shakir contract this offseason as the one that he wants to try and earn and match and probably exceed. That was $13 million per season with incentives up to $15 million per season. So Wan'dale's looking for at least 15, according to this report. And now that he's going to be a 1,000-yard receiver, which Khalil Shakir has never been and definitely wasn't before he signed this contract, he's probably looking more at 17, 18 million per season. Wan'dale Robinson is. I'm not going to that price for Wan'dale, in my opinion. As good as he is, I mean, he's a very impressive slot receiver, but he's a limited player. And I don't think that I want the New York Giants to invest that much into a limited player. Now, the caveat that I'll throw out there is if they can find a trade partner for Darius Slayton, get rid of him, and get his contract off the books, then I would pay Wan'dale Robinson to be a really good slot receiver. The question is, who's going to take on Darius Slayton, especially with the way that he's played this season? All those crucial drops, I don't think anybody wants him. And cutting him, you only save $250,000, so you don't get to reinvest that money. Here's the argument that I will make, though, and I want to get everybody's opinion because I think this is interesting. I had this idea the other day when I was doing an episode of FSG with Alex. I said, the Giants have 3 6th-round picks right now. They don't need 3 6th-round picks. They should package Darius Slayton and a 6th for a conditional 7th. Just get rid of him. I do think there's probably a team out there that will eat to that $10 million contract with the additional 6th-round pick. I mean, they're getting probably an upgrade at receiver, so some really receiver-needy team. Maybe upgrades at receiver with Darius Slayton, plus gets a 6th-round pick, and maybe they have a bunch of cap space. They can eat that $10 million that the Giants need to get rid of. If you can make that deal, I take that money, I throw it at Wan'dale Robinson, I reinvest in him. That's me personally. I want to hear what everybody has to think about that, though.
I mean, I would trade Darius Slayton for a new Pepsi machine.
If Pepsi machine catches better.
Yeah, if you get rid of that contract, I don't expect to get anything in return. I don't think a team is going to be willing to take on Darius Slayton's contract. I thought it was a good value when we made it, but as poorly as he's played this year, I don't see a team wanting to take on a $12 million a year salary for Darius Slayton. I think they would sooner rather sign somebody else in free agency or use a mid-round draft pick on a wide receiver in the draft for a guy that's been one of the worst receivers in the NFL this year. I mean, he's been awful for the Giants. So I think in the end, that is probably going to – that and couple that with Joe Shane likely to be fired, who's obviously the guy who drafted Wan'dale, the fact we're bringing in a new general manager, and the fact that we already are more than likely going to have to stay committed to Slayton for another year, I think that's going to do Wan'dale Robinson in. And like with the Giants, I think he'll get a good deal. And then when you look at the wide receiver market, I mean, I was pulling up as you guys were talking. There's nobody that jumps off the page. So he's going to be one of the most sought after free agent wide receivers, which means his market, Anthony, like you said, is going to probably be at least $16, $17 million a year. And somebody may be desperate. They may give him 20. And I don't see the Giants with a new general manager doing that. And as good as he is, and I do like him, he's replaceable. He's a guy. You can find good slot wide receivers in the draft day too. Like Adriana was saying, I think they need to go more in line with a traditional wide receiver too, a guy that is versatile, but has a little bit more height to him and can do more things. And I think that's the lane that the Giants are probably going to go down. I don't see them paying him the amount of money that a team out there is likely going to be willing to pay him that has some cap space.
Yeah, I like Wan'dale. He's had a really big year. I think I'm pretty sure all of us in this panel thought he could have a big year because of Malik Neighbors, but Neighbors has been out most of the year. I know I thought Slayton was going to have a big year, and he might be the most disappointing Giant of the season. I don't really know anybody that's underachieved more than him. Maybe Dexter Lawrence, but I give him a pass because Dex has been a 2-time second-team All-Pro, and he's been our best player for a lot of years on that defensive side of the football. So I'll give him a pass. Slayton has always kind of been that underachieving guy, never really put up great statistics, just really went on a lot of potential. And that's what I think he got paid for, was his potential to have a big year alongside Malik Neighbors, with, Russell Wilson being a quarterback and Jameis, and obviously drafting Jackson Dart. They probably thought that he could have a big year. I thought he could have a big year, but I kind of agree with you guys. It's hard to give a slot receiver, $17 million a year when you have so many other holes, and you probably can replace him, with a receiver later in the draft, day 2, day 3, whatever. I mean, we got Wan'dale Robinson day 2, and a lot of people thought Shane reached for him when he did it. So, I mean, those are available. And I think no matter what, when you have a guy like Malik Neighbors, hopefully he's healthy next year, that can make anybody a better wide receiver with all the attention that he commands. And, you talk about a team being desperate. Like, I don't know what the Chiefs cap space is, but that's a perfect landing spot for Wan'dale Robinson, right? I mean, I don't know what Mahomes' situation is, though. Like, he's probably going to be out next year, I would imagine. Like, he just tore his ACL, right? So how many weeks is he going to be out? Like, what are the Chiefs going to do? Would they want to give Wan'dale Robinson a ton of money?
I could see that. I think they have cap space, if I'm not mistaken. And if they do, I could see the Commanders being interested in
the Commanders are definitely a possibility. As well, but it's the same thing. Like, do they want to give him $17 million? I mean, I don't know. Like, it's tough. But that he would go to a team, I think, that has the luxury of signing a slot receiver for that much money. Yeah. Washington may be that team. I don't know. I don't know what Washington's going to be. They were really good last year. They kind of surprised a lot of people. They didn't get off to a great start this year. I mean, they beat us, and they were winning, but they didn't look the same. And obviously, they dealt with a lot of injuries. So I don't really know what the hell they are going forward. But, it is what it is. I think the Giants will address this in the draft. I don't think Wan'dale Robinson comes back because he's going to be we're going to be outpriced in this market. We don't have a lot of cap space like other teams. We don't have the luxury.
He may be outpriced for Flott too, Baddog, if I'm being honest. Like,
I hope not. I mean, I think he's more important.
He needs to be back, but with a new GM, anything could happen with a new GM.
I think Flott's more important than Wan'dale.
I agree with you. I have Flott way above Wan'dale in terms of importance to bring back, but it wouldn't shock me if he's not back.
Same. Adriana, what do you think about the whole Wan'dale Robinson situation there?
I think he's probably not going to be here, especially if we have a new GM, but I'm willing to trade Slayton for whatever. I'll whatever you want to give us, I'll take.
Still bag of chips.
Yeah, I just want a GM in here who's going to be proactive. Like, I'm sure we'll get into this offseason, but they're going to have to think about the future with someone like Kayvon Thibodeau too. And if you can get something for him, you have to trade him. You can't let these guys walk if you decide that they're not a part of their future. So that's the biggest thing that I've been upset with Joe Schoen is there's zero proactiveness with literally anything that he's done, but the biggest thing being contracts and re-signing players. And I'm with Chris. Cordell Flott 100% has to be the priority over Wan'dale Robinson this offseason. Yeah. You can easily upgrade the wide receiver position in the draft, and you don't have to spend $17 million on a slot receiver. I like Wan'dale. I think he's a good football player. I just don't want to be making these mistakes like, well, we re-signed Darius Slayton because we didn't want to let another homegrown guy go somewhere else. Like, it's just, that's not good enough. And a new GM should be like, no, we're not doing that here. Not while I'm the GM.
Yeah,
I think they're comparable players in terms of how good they are. But like you just said, Adriana, I think Wan'dale is much more replaceable than Cordell Flott. We've seen how hard it is to get strong corner play for the New York Giants out of the draft and even in free agency in recent years. So definitely need to prioritize Flott long before you prioritize Wan'dale.
Agreed with that. Anthony, obviously, Jackson Dart had the worst game of his career against Minnesota. Brian Flores ate his lunch and ate the Giants' lunch. We also know that Mike Kafka really didn't allow him to do much at all. So, there's a lot of crap going around now. Everybody's been waiting for Jackson Dart to have a game like that so they could say, Jeff Fernando Mendoza and Jackson Dart, ain't it? And then you look at what they did to Jared Goff yesterday. They embarrassed him. And he's not Jackson Dart. He's not a rookie. He's been in the league a long time. He's a guy that won 15 games last year and, might be a Hall of Fame quarterback. And you saw what that Minnesota defense did to him, forcing 5 turnovers. What do you think about Dart? I mean, this is a terrible team we're playing. The Raiders are probably worse than we are. They're right there. So Do you think you saw the press conference, he said he's excited, he said he talked to Kafka, they're listening to him, they're going to put in a bunch of different things. Do you think he bounces back, and how big do you think he bounces back this week?
I think he will bounce back. It's an easier opponent, and especially with Max Crosby not playing for the Raiders, which I'm sure we're going to get into and discuss the potential tanking that's taking place over there. But I think reflecting on that matchup with the Vikings, I think it's a good point to bring up the Lions, and how Brian Flores embarrassed Jared Goff. And just knowing Brian Flores has done that to all of the elite quarterbacks at one point or another. He's just one of the best defensive minds in football. So for a rookie quarterback, even one that had a lot of promise and has flashed a lot of potential like Jackson Dart, he was going up against a very tough opponent. You can't expect him to just step in there and look like a superstar as a rookie. But I also don't think that Mike Kafka's done him any favors since he's taken over as the head coach. I think that his play calling has gotten significantly worse since he's taken on the interim HC job. And I think in particular, that game against the Vikings was really ugly from Mike Kafka. What did they run the ball? 16 straight plays, I think it was, to start the game. How do you expect your rookie quarterback to be in a rhythm against this Vikings Brian Flores defense when he hasn't thrown a football in an hour? Right? I mean, you do the pregame warmups, you throw the ball a little bit, and then you run the ball 16 times. You're not throwing until halfway through the second half. I mean, it's literally an hour of time that Dart was just not throwing a football and really doing anything at all. I think that's insane. You have to get your rookie quarterback in a rhythm, especially when you're going up against a defense like that. Not to mention, when they were letting him throw the ball, it was always in disadvantageous third down positions. That's when Brian Flores really likes to get creative, disguise his defense, send the extra blitzers, put pressure on the quarterback. And pretty much the only time Dart was asked to throw was against those coverage looks and against that pressure. So I thought Kafka did him no favors. In fact, I thought he put him in a terrible situation. So it's not surprising that that was the result. Now, did Dart play well? No, he didn't. I also think there's the element, though, of Dart not being comfortable because he's no longer allowed to play his game. I said it at the beginning of the season. He's going to run. He's going to take hits, but you can't nerf the kid. You have to let him play his game. And the Giants have stopped letting him play his game. They don't call any more quarterback designed runs, despite him being an elite rushing quarterback. Earlier this season, in week 10, he had 7 rushing touchdowns. And what is that? 5 starts he had? Something like that. I mean, he was top 10 in the league in rushing touchdowns. He has not scored a rushing touchdown since week 10. It's been that long. You have to let the kid run. The Giants used to run those quarterback draws from about 10 yards out when they were in the red zone. He was so good. He had 2 touchdowns all night in his first 3 starts on that play. They haven't ran it since. They just completely shut down his legs. They've nerfed him, and they're stunting his growth and development because if you're not going to play him to strength, why do you have the kid? You watched his film at Ole Miss. You knew how he played. You knew his legs were a big part of his game. Now you don't want to use them. It doesn't even make sense to me. I understand you want to protect him. I get all that, and it's a lost season, whatever. And yeah, I'm pro tank, so maybe I shouldn't be complaining about it, but I want to see the young quarterback develop. And I think if you're going to take his biggest strength away from him, you're really going to hurt his development and growth. So I'm really hoping that the conversation that Dart and Kafka had ended with, fine, we will give you some quarterback design runs and let you play your game that we drafted you to play. So I think he will bounce back. Again, like I said, Raiders defense not nearly as good as the Vikings, and I still have a lot of confidence in Dart. I just think the Giants need to let him play his game, and he'll start to play better.
Jackson Dart didn't throw a pass until there was 12:03 left in the second quarter. That is crazy. Absolutely insane. Chris, how big do you think Jackson Dart bounces back against a very weak opponent that looks like they're trying to tank, which again we'll get into in a second?
Yeah, first I want to touch on the Brian Flores thing. I was watching that game, and of course we went up like you guys were talking about. We went up against Flores last week. I left that game, watching that game on Christmas night last night, saying we hired the wrong Brian to be the head coach. Like, yes. I mean, the Lions all year going into that game had 8 turnovers. They turned it over 6 times last night, and we see what Flores made the New York Giants defense look like. I always thought he got a raw deal with Miami. Reports came out there that they wanted him to tank, and he ended up winning more games than he wanted to. I know that there were reports that he didn't get along with Tua, and some Giants fans may worry about that. But if the lawsuit wasn't there, he would be my number 1 choice for the head coach for the New York Giants. I think he checks all the boxes. He's as good of a defensive coordinator than anybody in the league. He's had success as a head coach. He had 2 straight winning seasons with a dog shit Miami roster. I think he was unfairly fired there, but unfortunately, it's not very realistic because of all the factors. I don't see the New York Giants hiring him as the head coach, but he's a phenomenal defensive coordinator, and I think he could be a very good head coach in the NFL if and probably when he gets another opportunity somewhere else. As far as Dart goes, I think he's going to play a lot better. He's not going up against Brian Flores, and he's going up against a team that is obviously trying to lose, which we were going to talk more about throughout this show with the news that came out about Max Crosby. Yeah, Andrew Thomas won't be playing, but without Crosby out there going up against this horrible Raiders team, I expect Dart to play well. I don't know how much stock I'm going to put into that because they're trying to lose the football game, but I've seen enough from Dart in his rookie year to be excited to, regardless of how he finishes the season over the next 2 games, he showed me enough in his rookie year where I want to see what he could do over the next 2 years for the New York Giants at quarterback.
Adriana, how big do you think Jackson Dart bounces back against a shitty Raiders team?
I think he definitely will. And I think a big part of that is that Mike Kafka should be having a very different game plan this weekend. Again, with Max Crosby being out, I know they're going to have Marcus Bowe at left tackle, Austin Schlottman at center. Austin Schlottman will be fine. I think Marcus Bowe will also be fine too. At this point in the season, it's about evaluating players. So I want to see Jackson Dart get back to the Jackson Dart that we saw prior to that concussion, where he's running, but he's making smart decisions with the ball and he's getting down. We saw that in the Washington game after he took that first hit. The next time he was sliding, the next time he was diving. So he is a player that, yes, he can be stubborn, but he also is learning. And I think a big part of that is it just takes time and it takes reps. And we've seen some of these guys when they come back from concussions, it takes them a little while to get back to 100% themselves back on the football field. Going against Flores is most certainly not helping you get back to that point any faster. And then you have receivers who cannot catch the ball. That's also not helping. So I'm expecting him to bounce back this week, even if the offensive line play is a little bit shaky, even if there are some drops. I just want to see him make smart decisions with the ball. Don't try to force it where it doesn't belong. And, the biggest thing I want to see him focus on is this offseason is the footwork thing. That's not going to change overnight. I don't expect it to be better this weekend, but I just want to see him make better decisions with the ball and with his body when it comes to getting down. He's a good quarterback. He's one of only 2 quarterbacks. The only other one is Trevor Lawrence, who put up 30 points on the Broncos, who have won, 10 one-score games this year, if not 11, and are 13 and 2.
Yeah.
So, everyone was crowning him the franchise quarterback when he beats the Chargers and he beats the Eagles. One game he doesn't have Malik Neighbors and Scattaboo is able to help him out. And now he's got no one, including the coach who had his back. And everyone's, says we got to take Mendoza over him. So he's a rookie quarterback. He's not going to be perfect, but this is an opportunity for him to bounce back against a defense who's not nearly as good as the Vikings defense last week. So I'm expecting him to have a good game. And I just want to see him make smart decisions with the ball. Even though, I want the Giants to lose, I still want individual players to perform well, and that includes Jackson Dart.
Yeah, I like what Anthony said about you. We did run that quarterback draw a lot in the red zone, and it worked to perfection. I mean, he's had a couple, runs where he had 10 yards, 12 yards. I think he had like a 17-yard run against the Eagles. Like, obviously he can do that, and they have not been running him at all since Kafka became the head coach. And that has taken a big aspect away from his game. The threat of him running not being there makes it a lot more difficult for him and a lot easier for the defense. They say we don't have to worry about him trying to scramble or there's going to be no scripted runs. So we can just sit back and we ain't got to worry about Darius Slayton making a catch or Theo Johnson making a catch. You just got to take Wan'dale Robinson out of the game. Who the hell is he going to throw to? And it makes it that easier. You can just tee off and go after the quarterback because he's going to drop back and pass. So they're just going to freaking sit there and run the ball the whole damn time. I do think he'll have a much better game against the Raiders. The Raiders are obviously trying to lose, which we're going to get into in a second. But, to your point, Adriana, it's just funny how it's such a week-to-week league and people will make such a big deal. They get so high off of a really good performance. They get so low off of a really bad performance, especially on Twitter. It's just amazing how many people do this shit. And I understand everybody just wants clicks and they just want people to freaking react to their comments, which is why I think most of these comments are stupid. I think 80% of the comments, I think people are either really stupid or they just want engagement because none of it makes any sense. Jackson Dart put up 10 touchdowns against the Eagles and Broncos. Okay. Nobody else is doing that. Nobody else scored 30 points in the Eagles the entire year. He did. And, nobody's putting up 32 in Denver. He did. They should have won that game. He's not the reason they lost that game at all. He's not the reason they lost a lot of these games. The Patriots just completely outclassed us. If you want to say we lost because of Jackson Dart against the Vikings, I mean, okay. But if Darius Slayton catches that fucking ball that was right on his hands and led him perfectly, like I said last show, he'd still be running, man. He could have scored a touchdown because the safety was running towards him and he was running the complete opposite way. Nobody was catching him because he can run. He just can't catch. But I am not worried about Jackson Dart whatsoever. I think Jackson Dart's got a lot of moxie. I think he's got a lot of talent. I think he's got a lot of skill. I think he's very smart. I think he's very composed, and he shows a lot of poise in the pocket. Those are things I think that you either have or you don't. He obviously has it. But this has been a disaster of a season. He has not had his number one receiver. He's not had his number one running back for a lot of the year. He's had a coaching change. And, he's got a team that's kind of quit out there, and it's pretty obvious. So, again, I'm not going to get too high or too low off of what he does in any particular game, but after watching his body of work this year, I definitely think he's a guy. I'm not going to say he's the franchise and he's going to be here for 15 years, but he's definitely going to be back here next year, and he should be back here next year regardless of who the GM is, regardless of where we're picking. Get him a fresh start. Get him a new coach. Get him new coordinators. Get him a new GM. Get him a wide receiver in the draft. Let's get Malik Neighbors healthy again. Get Scottu healthy again. Try to build that O-line and see what the hell they got. Start building around him this year with better coaches and better play calling and better execution and better fundamentals and better clock management and situational football. And let's see what he can do. And if he stinks next year, then we can sit there and go, well, maybe he's not the guy. But until that happens, I'm certainly not giving up on the kid. And I think he'll have a good game against the Raiders, who obviously, Chris, are in tank mode. We know Brock Bowers and Jeremy Chin are now on IR. And we know Max Crosby is a healthy scratch because Max Crosby is pissed that he's not playing in the football game. So what do you take away from, the Raiders benching Max Crosby per se? I mean, we got a lot of guys out too. Newman's out. Not that Neil matters. Not that Davidson matters. They're out. JMS is probably out. Thomas is out. And the rest of it, whatever. Cordell Flott's questionable. Nacho's questionable. What do you take about the Raiders pretty much intentionally tanking is what it looks like?
Yeah, I mean, we've been down this road before, too, as Giants fans. Let's not forget last year, there was at least speculated upon that they pulled Dexter Lawrence. Maybe he could have finished the year. Daniel Jones, we pulled him for contract. Reasons. I think with 5 or 6 games to go in the year last year because we were thinking about next year. We weren't concerned with winning. But the Max Crosby thing makes me believe that it has to at least be investigated upon. Like, you can't blatantly tank. Like, that's against the rules. And the fact that Max Crosby has come out, apparently, at least from what I've read on Twitter, like you said, Baddog, 90% of the stuff you read on Twitter is bullshit. But at least from what I've read on Twitter from guys that are respected beat reporters, Max Crosby is not happy about it. He left the facility. Well, I mean, doesn't that tell you that they're clearly tanking the fact that Crosby wants to play and feels he is clearly capable of playing, and they're sitting him? So to me, I think that needs to be investigated upon. But I'm not surprised because for the Raiders and for the Giants, having that first pick is incredibly valuable. If you're the Raiders and you get the first pick, you don't have to trade any assets. You could draft the quarterback that they're clearly trying to tank for. And if you're the Giants, I'm at the point, again, I will never celebrate a loss. You're not going to see me excited, Bad Dog, when we're streaming the game. Yes, we lost. I'm not going to do that. But I'm hoping they lose this week because you can't argue to me that the value of having the first pick for the New York Giants is so much more valuable than winning that football game. If the Giants win that football game and fall to the 3rd or 4th pick, you're basically going to draft the same exact player that you would at 1 because we're not taking the quarterback, and then you would trade down and you would get a plethora of assets because all these teams, whether it be the Jets, whether it be the Raiders, whether it be the Cardinals, the Browns, there's a number of teams that are going to be looking to trade up to get a quarterback, are going to be giving the Giants their best offer. So it's in the Giants' best interest to lose this football game. And at this point, I don't even think there's a carryover argument. Like, if I knew Dable was coming back and Shane was coming back, I would say, okay, at least there's an argument there. Jackson Dart, rookie quarterback, build some confidence going into next year. there's no guarantees, even though we all agree he's likely going to be the quarterback next year. There's no guarantees he's going to be the quarterback next year. And we're going to have a new head coach, and we're likely going to have a new GM. So the Giants have already shown you they're blowing this thing up. I see no positive that comes out of this game if the Giants win it, other than, I guess, being temporarily happy on Sunday if you're a Giants fan. But long term, it's much better for the Giants to lose this football game. I hate to say that. I never want my team to lose, but this Sunday, yeah, I think the Giants fans, 90% of them are going to be hoping the Giants lose that football game. Unfortunately, it looks like the Raiders might beat us to the punch.
The one thing I'm going to say about this, Geno Smith played for the Giants, so maybe he wants a little revenge. Ashton Genty's playing. We know how shitty our run defense is, and we saw what Ashton Genty did against the Texans, so maybe that helps. I don't know. Oh, Jen, let me ask you this. Since Max Crosby obviously wasn't happy, he tells me he felt he was healthy enough to play, and he's, like you mentioned before, I think you mentioned it before we started the show, that he's been able to play all year with this knee injury. Now all of a sudden he can't. If it's intentionally tanking and the NFL wants to investigate, and I don't want this to happen in the NFL at all. I do not want this by any stretch of imagination. Do you think shit like this could get them talking to implement a lottery system in the draft like they have in the NBA if teams are intentionally tanking to lose games?
Yeah, I think it totally could. I mean, we've seen a couple instances like the Dolphins were mentioned earlier where this has happened before. And I think it takes away from the integrity of the game. I understand why franchises do it, but when your players are very anti that and they're upset by it, like Max Crosby, I mean, I do think that it is kind of BS because I'm sitting here on this side of the fence and I'm like, well, if I were the Giants, I would say, all right, we're going to start Russell Wilson on Sunday and we're going to sit Cordell Flott because he has a knee injury and was limited in practice. It's like two can play that game and it's not even week 18. We still have another week left. So I think that it's definitely damaging to the game. And, as much as I want my team to lose, I don't really think that that's the right way to go about it. So doing some sort of lottery or something like that would definitely make a difference and change that.
Anthony, what do you think? I mean, could the Raiders be penalized? I mean, I don't know if there's any way you can prove coercion here or whatever the word is. I don't think coercion is the word I'm looking for, Bob. But
collusion.
Is there any way, what's that?
Collusion.
Is there any way you can prove that they're like, okay, we're intentionally sitting our best players so that we have a worse chance of winning this game to get a better pick in the draft?
I don't know if it can be proven per se, but if they do an investigation, it's not like U.S. court of law. It's not like they need to prove it beyond, unreasonable doubt. It's nothing like that. It's just open to the interpretation of the league. So let's say the league feels like something shady went on and then they call Max Crosby in and Max Crosby's super pissed at the Raiders. Max Crosby says, yes, I believe that they were tanking. Then the NFL can penalize according to how the NFL feels the Raiders should be penalized. It's not like they got to go through jury or anything. There's just a system. So I think it's possible they could be penalized. I wouldn't rule it out. The penalty, though, it's not like the Giants would get the first overall pick if the Raiders were penalized. And I think that's important to note. What would happen is the Raiders would lose the pick and the Giants would still have 3 wins, and whoever has the lower strength of schedule in front of them with 3 wins would be picked first overall. So I think that the Giants, if they win this game, they fall to the Browns. The Browns have a lower strength of schedule, so the Browns will be in front of them. So either way, if the Giants win, they're not going to get the first overall pick. That's just the sad reality of it. So even if the Raiders are proven to be tanking, it won't change anything for Big Blue. But in terms of the lottery system, I absolutely hate the idea of a lottery. I just don't see the benefit of it for the NFL. And tanking has never really been something that I think has given the NFL many issues in the past. I know Dolphins, there's the Eagles thing that happened a few years ago with the Giants. I remember that, but tanking has never been a serious issue for the league because there are so many incentives in all of the contracts and all of these players are playing for those incentives. Like Ashton Genty has incentives to run all over the New York Giants on Sunday afternoon. If he goes for 200 yards in that game, it's very beneficial to Ashton Genty and all these other players who are playing in contract years, Geno Smith, whoever. So I don't really think the tanking and a lottery system is a solution here for the NFL. I've heard that pitched before, but I think you look at the NBA, their fall off in ratings. I know obviously the NBA has gotten a little bit better in recent years. I think a lot of it has to do with the lottery system and the unpredictability of their offseason. And I don't love how that always gets kind of brought up as being rigged either. The lottery system always gets brought up as being rigged for the NBA.
Why? I don't lottery, whatever. Why don't they show it? Why don't they show the ping pong balls? Why is that a secret? Why don't
they
we
used to? And then
they used
with Patrick Ewing and the whole controversy back then with
the
bent envelope. So I don't know. I think that you open up a can of worms if you're the NFL that you don't want to open up if you bring in a lottery system. And then more people, there's already such a spotlight on sports, major sports leagues in general because of sports betting. And obviously the NBA has had that issue this year. If they start trying to uncover whether or not the NBA lottery is rigged and if Cooper Flag was meant to go to Dallas because the league determined it, that's just stuff that I think the NFL should just avoid that.
I actually disagree with you on this, Anthony. I think the lottery in the NBA is absolutely needed, because especially in the NBA, because one player could change everything. Like if there was no lottery in the year that LeBron James was coming out, 20 of the teams would try to lose every single game they could to get the first overall pick. Like if there was a prodigy coming out. So because one player in the NBA impacts the game so much, I do think the lottery is a necessity in the NBA. And
maybe for the NBA, but
over the past, I used to agree with you as far as the NFL goes and not doing a lottery because it's the ultimate team game. How much impact could one player make? But we see, especially with the new rules in the NFL, how important having an elite quarterback is. If there's like Arch Manning, for example, he's going to be thought of as an elite quarterback prospect next year. And more than likely, there's going to be teams tanking at the beginning of the year or near the beginning of the year to ensure they get that elite quarterback prospect because we've seen what an elite quarterback could do. I would not be against a lottery system in the NFL, but I do think it's more imperative to be in the NBA.
I think it's okay. So I'll agree with you. It is definitely more imperative in the NBA. You make good points on that. But for the NFL, I can't even think of 5 first overall picks in the last 10 years that have actually legitimately changed the course of a franchise. I don't even think it's that. I get the value of the first overall pick and understanding getting an elite quarterback and all of that.
Do you think Caleb Williams has changed the course of the franchise for the Bears?
Yeah, he has, but
you think Drake
that's
May,
one example.
The Patriots probably tanked. They didn't get the first pick, but they got the second or third pick or whatever. Do you think Drake May has changed the course of the franchise for the Patriots or Jaden Daniels has changed the course of the franchise for the Commanders?
Yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily – I'm talking about the first overall pick, and I don't think that those teams tanked. I truly don't – I don't think the Patriots tanked. I definitely don't think the Commanders tanked. Those teams sucked. Like, they were just bad football teams. But I'm talking first overall pick. Like, if you're comparing it to a Cooper Flag or a LeBron James, whatever, you're talking about Andrew Luck. And we get an Andrew Luck once every 20, 30 years. It just doesn't happen.
And they don't always pan out.
Williams, maybe.
And they don't always pan out. Trevor Lawrence was supposed to be an Andrew
That's
Luck.
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
How many of these number one overall picks in the NFL really do pan out? Like, the tanking shouldn't be a problem in the NFL because no matter what, you can draft whoever, first overall, second overall, third overall. It's really not like the NBA because those players don't step in and immediately change the franchise overnight. It's very rare that happens in the NFL. I don't think the lottery is a necessity in this league personally.
Fair.
Well, interesting. It's definitely an interesting thought though when you see teams.
I wouldn't be against it. I wouldn't be. I don't think I would. I
don't want it, but when you hear stuff like this, it brings into question.
I think,
like Adriana said, it hurts the integrity of the game. So,
I just think a lottery might do that too, though.
Yep. No, listen. I don't want it in the NFL.
Yeah. If they were to do it, I don't think it should be as extensive as the NBA. Where the NBA, every team that doesn't make the playoffs is in the lottery. In the NFL, if they were to do it, maybe make it the bottom 5 teams or something.
Top 5,
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Something, but. Well, who knows? Who the hell knows what they're going to do? We still got the game on Sunday, and there's no guarantee we're going to win because we are ass. And anyway, with that said, that brings us to the close of the first part of Giants Collective, which, of course, is brought to you by our friends at SeatGeek. Let's hear from our sponsor 80 seconds back after this with your questions. What's going on, guys and gals? You looking for a fun activity? You want to get out of the house? You need something to do? Are you looking for a great gift idea? Well, if so, look no farther than the sponsor of Giants Collective, which is SeatGeek. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There's more than 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek, including concerts, sports, festivals, and more. Giants season is underway. And say you want to check out Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders at MetLife Stadium? Well, it's easy. Just go to SeatGeek, scroll around, look for the tickets that you want, and SeatGeek's going to have your back. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10, so you know you're getting a good deal. Look for the green dots. That's good. The red dots, well, it's not so good. Plus, every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use the code Giants Collective for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with the promo code Giants Collective. Make sure you click that link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you, SeatGeek, for sponsoring Giants Collective, and let's go Giants! Yeah, that's right. I don't know what's going on with my damn somebody say something. My iPod, my like AirPods keep connecting to my damn computer for whatever reason, or upstairs where they keep connecting to my computer. So I'm losing your guys' audio now and again. So just want to make sure I hear somebody.
Yeah, I'm here. Testing.
I hear you. It's connecting out of nowhere and then going away. I don't know what the hell is going on. It's very weird. There's spooks going on here, man. A lot of spooky things going on here. The Giants are haunting my computer, haunting my everyday life. The New York frickin' Giants. This portion, the Q&A portion of Giants Collective, brought to you by our friends at Sleeper. Check out Sleeper, guys and girls. It is the fastest growing app out there. Over 10 million people use the Sleeper app. Daily fantasy contests, college football, college basketball, NBA, and so much more. You can do entries in about 30 seconds. It's about $1. You can do it for as little as $1 an entry, and you can score up to 1,000 times your cash. Enter the promo code HMA to get a 100% match deposit bonus on your first deposit, all the way up to $100. And if you don't have a Sleeper account, want to try it out, click the link in the description, open a brand new Sleeper account. They give you $20 just for opening a Sleeper account using our link down in the description. So check out Sleeper. Terms and conditions apply. Have some fun, win some cash, and test your sports knowledge at Sleeper. Cruise on. Thank you. He says the Raiders just shot down Max Crosby, and he left the building in disgust. What's to stop a player from complaining to the Players Association, and it leads to an investigation?
So I'll keep our fingers crossed that happens.
Yeah.
And it's done before Sunday.
What's Crosby's contract? I'm assuming he's still under contract with the Raiders. Does anybody know his contract status with the Raiders? Crosby?
I know it's very tradable. Like, there's not a ton of dead money. They can move on and trade him if they want to. I don't think they can release him, but I know that it's tradable for sure.
If he demands a trade, like, it's not going to happen now. I don't think they're going to penalize the Raiders today. But if he demands a trade because of this, I could see an investigation happening where they do get penalized with some draft picks. Because if Crosby blatantly says, I was completely healthy, I got into an argument about it, how do you not penalize them at that point, right? I mean, you would think, at least you would think.
He signed a contract this year, 2025. So there's an out in 2028 or before the 2028 season.
Yeah. Okay. So he just signed a 3-year deal, but yeah, Cruzan. I mean, obviously this is an issue. If he was very vocal about it and very pissed off that they're benching him, it's because he's able to play. So they're telling him you're sitting, even though he says I'm good enough to go. Even if he ended up tweaking his knee in the game and he left midway through the game because he couldn't play, that's one thing. But if he's telling you I'm good enough to start, let me play, and they're like, nope, you're our best player. Andrew Thomas is not there, and we know you're going to eat over on that side of the line. Nope, you're not playing because you'll get 4 sacks or whatever. And that's probably why Max Crosby wants to play, because he knows he'd have a field day.
Yep.
I'm curious, like Anthony said earlier, if there's any incentives in Crosby's contract. If he gets a certain amount of sacks this year, he could get more money. Because he has 10 sacks so far this year. So, like, say there's a 12 or 13 sack, threshold where he can make a lot more money. I'm curious if that's the case.
Let's see.
He made Pro Bowl, and obviously Crosby's really good, so he could have an incentive for All-Pro and All-Pro second, and he could feel as though, these last 2 games, if I put up some more sacks, I'd have a better chance at an All-Pro team. So they could potentially be, taking away that opportunity from him. And also for the contract, he does have an out in 2028. That's right. But if you actually look at when they trade him, if they were to trade him this offseason, they would only have a dead cap hit of $5 million. So they would free up $30 million in cap space if they traded him this offseason. So his contract is super tradable.
Oh, trade him to the Giants. Good use him.
Yeah, right.
Like
That'll be great. Imagine the Giants actually lose. He demands a trade, and then they want to trade up to the first overall pick, and they got to include Max Crosby in the package. Great. I'll take Max Crosby.
That's what I'm saying. It'd be funny. It'd be hilarious if it worked out. That'd be good. Evan, thank you, buddy. He says, love the show. Raiders are openly tanking.
Yeah, they are. Yep. I mean, it's clear.
Well, that's pretty obvious.
Like, this is so obvious. If the NFL doesn't do anything about it, and look, they're not going to do anything by Sunday, but if they don't do a full investigation into it, that's some straight up bullshit, because all the signs are pointing that they're doing it.
The good news, though, I think, guys, if you're rooting for a Giants loss, I still think they could easily lose this game, even with Max Crosby not playing and them looking to lose. Like, I don't think we're stopping Genty. Our run defense is pitiful. I think we could still easily lose this game.
Yeah, same. I mean, we're not a good team. So, and we know that even if Jackson Dart plays well and throws a dime to, Theo or Darius Slayton, is a 50-50 chance they're going to drop it anyway. Yeah. So it really doesn't matter. The only thing is, I don't know how good the Raiders run defense is. I can't imagine it's any good. We've actually been good at running the football this year. So if they do use Jackson Dart's legs, we could definitely put up some points. But, we absolutely suck. And it's not like we benched Andrew Thomas on purpose. He legitimately got hurt.
He's hurt,
last game. So it's, what a fucking mess. By the way, if you haven't subscribed, guys, girls, do us a favor. Hit the subscribe button. We're 3 subscribers away from 6,600. So we're really close to getting there. Jason, you got a bunch of them here. I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much, Jason. He says, in the world of social media, keyboard GMs, and content creators, there's no more gray areas. You're either great or you're the worst. Black or white craziness.
I also think part of it, and I would say, like, even just for Giants fans too, everyone's just so frustrated and beat down by the losing. And I think if you haven't watched every game this season, maybe you stop tuning in after the bye or after, a loss, you're probably just looking at the stats and like, wow, Jackson Dart really sucks since he's been back. Between the Patriots game, the Commanders game has been iffy. And now that, like, why not just get Mendoza and start over? I think there's very much that. I think that's a big part of it. I think there's a lack of patience for anything and anyone in general. I just think it's worse with Giants fans because we're like, well, we're not winning with Jackson Dart. Let's get rid of him, bring in someone else. And all of a sudden we're going to start automatically winning. And it just doesn't work like that.
No, if you watch the Giants, you should know that Jackson Dart is the least of their problems. Jackson Dart's not blowing 10-point leads in the fourth quarter against Denver and Detroit and Chicago. Not doing that. So,
I just want to read that super chat again. In the world of social media, keyboard GMs, and content creators, there's no more gray areas. You're either the great or the worst, black or white, or craziness. Okay, so first off, back to Baddog's point about Twitter, just Twitter in general, not just Giants specific, like anything, the way that it's been since Elon Musk took over with the check mark, where everybody has a check mark and you can make money off of Twitter, people say the dumbest shit, like Baddog said, to get interaction. So yes, that just comes with the territory when it comes to social media or just any media in general. It's all about clicks. We all know that. We're content creators, of course. We're part of that. Yeah, but with the Giants, if you're talking specifically about the Giants, unless you're talking about an individual player like Jackson Dart, maybe that's what your super chat's about, how could you argue that we were anything but the worst? I mean, the Giants are literally the worst team in the NFL right now. They have the first overall pick. Maybe the Jets have been the only team that's been worse than them over the last 10 years. So I think people, whether they're content creators, fans, media, members of the team, general manager, owner, whoever, that are diagnosing the Giants as being the worst team in the NFL and the biggest embarrassment in the NFL, unfortunately, are correct. And it even goes as far to our stadium. Our stadium is one of the 9 or 10 most new stadiums in the NFL. I'm watching that game yesterday. I think it was the Viking Stadium. That thing looks like it's from the future. I'm like, everything about the Giants is bad over the last decade. It's been horrible.
Yeah, the stadium is a fucking joke. It's just everything about the Giants is a joke. We are the worst, but I think he's talking about like players.
If he's talking about Dart specifically, yeah, I could get on board with that.
Right. So I don't think that it's just like I said, if somebody has a good performance, they're fantastic, and if they have a bad performance, they're a bust, and it's just constantly overblown. Everything is an overreaction.
Well, he mentioned like social media GMs, and so maybe he's talking about Joe Shane in this instance, and so I'll say this though. The Giants are on a 9-game losing streak. If they lose to what seems to be a tanking Raiders team, you have to get rid of Joe Shane, right? Like that would be my opinion of it. That's how, and so maybe I'm one of these GMs that's too. I think he's gone anyway, but like you're talking about your roster that you constructed is so bad it's losing to a tanking Raiders team to go on a 10-game losing streak, which would match your franchise record. Like you gotta fire him there. So I don't know. Again, I can't fully interpret what the super chat was and if it's about the GM or whoever, but I do think that's something that we gotta, discuss probably on Tuesday's show. Is if they do lose, you gotta move on from Joe Shane no matter what.
I think what he's saying is like there's all the people on Twitter, they have an idea what they want to do. They all act like they're the GM and they all act like they can do a better job than our GMs. And I say this all the time. I said it about Dave Gettleman too. We can sit here and we can criticize Joe Shane and Dave Gettleman, and we can look back on their picks. Oh, that was a miss. That was a bust. Evan Neal obviously was a disaster. Jalen High was a disaster. But there's a reason that they are where they are and we are where we are. There's a reason that they have those jobs. They don't just hand them out. They just don't go, hey, you know what? You got a really good point on Twitter. You're the GM of the Giants. That's not how that shit works. Okay, so we can all discuss. That's our job. As content creators, as media, social media, whatever.
In general. It's just fans in general.
Right. That's our job. Their job is much more difficult than ours. It's easy to sit here and criticize what they do, but none of us could do that shit. You know, there's a lot more that goes into it than, hey, draft that guy. It don't work. It's not Madden. You don't just, hey, I'm going to trade and I'm going to manage a cat. No, it ain't like that at all.
Yeah, of course. There's a lot more nuance that goes into it than just like during the contract negotiations. There's more nuance than Jones just isn't worth the money. Just let him go. Like no, there's more that goes into it. If you're
right, they should have let Barkley walk. What the fuck was he doing? That was stupid. Yeah. They should have traded for him. And then you find out Mara wouldn't allow a trade. And there's a lot more that goes on behind the scenes that we don't see. So
I agree with that.
Yeah. Like I said, I don't want Joe Shane shouldn't be back, but none of us can do that job. Whether they think they can or not, we can't. Otherwise, we'd be doing it. Yeah. Jason, thank you, says, I personally don't care about the draft tanking. The draft is the ultimate crapshoot. I want Dart to get the feeling of winning. That's more important. Yeah, I disagree. I think getting more draft capital is going to get Jackson Dart more wins. And because it's a crapshoot, the more picks you have, the more chances you have to hit on a pick.
In certain instances, I'd agree with Jason's point of view, and maybe you could even make that argument for the Cowboys game. If you're of the mindset of, I want the quarterback to get some wins so it carries over next year and he builds some confidence. But how much confidence could be gained from Jackson Dart winning this week against a Raiders team that is intentionally trying to lose? It's I don't know how much confidence he could take out of that. If he beats Dallas, maybe you can make that case, but not this week.
Right. Yeah.
I made that argument earlier in the season when it first started to spiral out of control. I was like, okay, I want the Giants to keep fighting. I want them to keep winning because I don't want Jackson Dart to become jaded. I don't want him to become apathetic. I want this quarterback to keep that desire to win. But as the season's gone on, I've watched this entire team already go apathetic, already become jaded. And so I don't care anymore. Now I want the best haul of assets possible by trading out from the number 1 overall pick so we can build around that young quarterback, Jackson Dart. I think that's just at this point proven to be more important. So I get that perspective. And like Chris said, if you had a first-year head coach in here, it'd be a little bit different because you want to build that culture going into next year. But you don't. You're getting a new head coach. You're getting a new GM. You're rebuilding this culture this offseason. So what does a culture win when you're wiping this culture out and bringing a new one in literally next month?
There's no carryover.
I don't see the benefit. There is no carryover. There is really no benefit to beating this crappy Raiders team
and not
this
to mention,
Sunday, unfortunately.
As we've all discussed on here before, getting the first pick is also very attractive for the potential GM and head coach candidates. So it makes the job more enticing for outside candidates as well. So I don't know. Everybody can fan the way they want. I'm never
Correct.
going to be critical of a fan that wants the team to win. Like, that's what you should want as a fan in almost every scenario. But I'm also not going to get on fans for wanting the Giants to lose these next 2 games that recognize that it's in the best long-term interest of this football team.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I see both sides of it. I get why people want them to win. It's very obvious that Jackson Dart is frustrated and upset by all of the losing. But I think at this point, the future is more important than anything else. And that's why I'm rooting for them to lose. Also, this team is an awful football team and they've only won 2 games this year. So like, it's just more realistic that they're probably going to lose because in general, they suck. But we have seen them win meaningless games towards the end of the season. And for all of the reasons why this year, it's because of Jackson Dart. Last year, it was 2 years ago, it's Tommy DeVito. It was because, the wins are going to carry over into next year. It's going to do this. It's going to do that. And, we've seen this happen every year for the last 2 years under Joe Shane, when we've won 6 football games and we've won 3 football games. And the reality is the wins don't transfer. Every year is a new season. There's going to be new players on this football team. And I think for someone like Jackson Dart, I think that he knows that the season is over. I don't doubt that he wants to win. He obviously wants to win more than anything else. But I personally think that him winning these 2 games is not going to do anything for him in the long run. I think he'll be happy by the wins. I think they will be good for him. But I think the reality is come January 5th, the season's over. We're getting a new coaching staff. March, April, all of that is going to change. And when May rolls around, the only focus is going to be on winning. And that's when it's going to matter. I don't think beating the Raiders is going to make Jackson Dart feel like he's a winner or that he can carry that into the next year, because we're probably not going to beat the Cowboys next week either.
Right. Yeah. There's no carryover. And even when you have a good, like Anthony mentioned, if this was a first-year head coach, first-year coordinators, first-year GM, and they're all coming back, it makes sense to say we have to start winning. We have to build a culture. We want to move forward with all these guys. We want to get a feeling of winning. But like you mentioned, none of those guys are going to be here. None of them. They're all going to be gone. Like John mentioned, there's going to be all new players on this team. So who's this carrying over for? Darius Slayton, not that who cares about him really, but Dexter Lawrence knows nothing but losing anyway. So how many of these culture wins when DeVito won 3 games in a row? How much did that help Dexter Lawrence? How much did it help the New York Giants at this juncture in the year when you don't need a quarterback, when you don't need that guy, and you have the number 1 pick and somebody does, and you're going to get you're going to get 2, you're going to swap picks. So you're going to get a top 5 draft pick most likely anyway, and you're going to get another first-round pick and maybe another one the next year. And nothing else, you're going to end up with probably 3 or 4 top 50 draft picks. There's no way that is not for the betterment of the future of the New York Giants, because 1 player may not change it, but 4 in the top 50 certainly can, especially when you feel like you've got your quarterback. So the Giants, it's better for them to lose. It's better for the future than when you go into next year and, you're getting ready to ramp up for training camp and you're practicing and like, remember that big win we had against the Raiders and got to 3-13? Boy, that was a big week for us. Come on, man. That shit don't matter. That ain't going to matter in 2026 one bit. So it's better that they drop it. I mean, if the Patriots don't miss that field goal at the end of the game when we were up 10-7, which we all know they missed it on purpose. I mean, let's not be stupid. It was like a 30-yard field goal. He shanked it on purpose. We would have had Drake May. I mean, would it have made a difference? Maybe not. But you see what the Patriots have done with Drake May. So, I mean, thinking sometimes it
if we had Drake May, Brian Dable would still have his job.
Probably.
I think he's that good of a quarterback. So yes, I think it would have mattered.
Well, no, I don't know, man. Our defense is still pretty.
It is pretty bad. You're right. It is pretty bad.
Jason, thank you. He says Ravens fans seem to be out on Harbaugh as head coach in Baltimore. If he were to be fired, where would you rank? He's my coach yesterday.
Oh,
if they fire,
no doubt. If Harbaugh became available, you give him the job immediately. He's a no doubter in my opinion.
I'll help him pack his bags. I'll drive him here, whatever he needs.
Yeah,
whatever he needs.
Yep.
I would love that. Be the dream.
The guy's a Super Bowl winning head coach. He constantly has that team competitive.
How many great draft picks do they have year in and year out too? He's got to say about that.
Yeah.
So they always draft well, and they're always drafting at the back of the draft. at the back end of the first round. They always draft well, and he's got a say in that. So, yeah, that would be a dream candidate. Speaking of a dream, man, Sleeper's got a dream promotion going right now. Let's hear from them. 30 seconds back after this for the rest of your questions.
Sleeper is the #1 fantasy sports app. It pays to know sports. Pick more or less on top players. Your first pick is on us, so start winning now. Play in Texas, Georgia, Minnesota, and 27 more states. Pick anytime across all sports, pregame or live. Over 10 million players are already on Sleeper. Make your picks count. Score up to 1,000 times your cash. Join today. Get up to $100 credit using the code HMA. Call your shot on Sleeper. Download now.
And again, not only do they have the 100% match deposit bonus up to $100, if you click the link in the description and open a brand new Sleeper account, they're going to give you $20 to try it out just for opening an account. Terms and conditions apply, and have some fun, win some cash. And like I said, if you enjoy Sleeper, even with that extra $20, the free $20, you're still eligible for the 100% match deposit bonus up to $100. So check out Sleeper. If you're like me and you just suck at picking against the spread, which I suck at that. I'm terrible at that. Daily fantasy contests are a lot of fun, and you can play over-under and stats. So I'm much better with prop bets than I am with over-under. But you can do all that stuff. So, have fun with that. Chris, thank you. Giants Raiders deserve a 0-0 tie. Awful teams. I feel like they should just cancel a game and give them both a loss.
If we tied, we would still have the first pick, so I'm okay with that.
Well, not if Cleveland loses, don't they pass us?
No, because they still have 3 wins, wouldn't they?
Oh, that's true, yeah. Tie benefits us.
I'm okay with it.
One of my buddies at the gym is a Raiders fan, and he was saying that should be tie. Tie benefits the Giants. I'm okay with the tie.
Yeah, I'm okay.
And he looks like Tommy DeVito, this kid. I swear to God, he looks like Tommy. I keep telling him, like, yo, Sonny, I'm like, let's get a picture together. I can say, look at, I met Tommy DeVito. He looks just like him. I swear to God. It's insane. Big F, thank you. He says, since 21, Harbaugh and the Ravens have lost 12 games, having at least a 7-point lead in the fourth quarter. John Harbaugh has the NFL record of 20 lost games while having a double-digit lead in the second half. That I didn't know. It's the complete opposite of Mike Tomlin.
I will say this. I also love Harbaugh, and he would be among the top candidates. I don't know if he would immediately be just the #1 gotta hire him guy for me, because this has been an issue for the Ravens, is losing in the fourth quarter, as well as kind of coming up short in big games in the playoffs. They've really underperformed the playoffs. I mean, they've had some absolutely stacked rosters that they should have won a Super Bowl with Lamar Jackson by now. He's been the MVP more than once. Like, they should have won a Super Bowl. So you could put that on coaching, I would argue. And I also don't think that Harbaugh has hired the best coordinators in recent years. And that's a big part of it, is a head coach needs to hire really good assistants and coordinators. The OC picks for the Ravens have not been too great, in my opinion.
I mean, Lamar won the MVP, twice with the OCs? How bad could the OCs have been? Yeah,
I know, but Greg Roman moved on and went over elsewhere. Greg Roman got thrown out of Baltimore because he did such a poor job. I mean, that wasn't a good hiring. That was a big swing and a miss. And Todd Monken, meanwhile, he had some buzz for head coaching gigs a couple of years ago. Now it's like, is he on the hot seat? Is he going to be fired? So I get what you're saying, but I just think Lamar is a generational talent. And I think that outside of Lamar being a generational talent, there has been a lot of fair criticism handed off to the OC picks and the DC picks as well. They've had a revolving door there ever since Wink Martindale. I think that Harbaugh, I think, would maybe do better in a new situation where he could reevaluate, like Mike McCarthy did when he left Green Bay and then went to Dallas. He reevaluated himself. He kind of changed some things up. But McCarthy and Harbaugh, I saw Big Dash in the chat. And shout out to Big Dash, another great creator. He said that McCarthy and Harbaugh are in the same kind of realm. I don't necessarily disagree. And I would actually say McCarthy has a better track record of hiring great coordinators than Harbaugh does. And one lesson that I learned this season with the New York Giants, hiring the right coordinators is maybe the most important thing that a head coach does. So I just food for thought on Harbaugh.
Well, you can also go back to when they hired Jason Garrett, the offensive coordinator, how bad that turned out to be.
I'd be happy with either one of those guys. As you know, I'm a fan of McCarthy too.
Yeah, well, again, both of them bring a winning culture with them.
Yeah.
Both of them have won most of their career. They've had some down year, but very few.
Yeah.
Jason, thank you. Says, not about carrying wins over. It's about Dart gaining confidence with wins regardless of opponents. Most people had Dart as a second-round pick. It is a crapshoot. There's no guarantee in the draft. Dart can get confidence just by playing well.
I mean, again, I'm not going to be screaming if the Giants win. I'll recognize that there's some value to Dart playing well. And if more than likely, if we're being honest, against the Raiders, if Dart plays well, the Giants will likely win the game. Now, they could certainly lose because our run defense is god-awful. And if you have one of the more talented running backs in the league, Raiders, I would just give him the ball 40 times if you're trying to win the game, which they're probably not trying to win the game. But, yeah, if Dart plays well, the Giants are probably going to win the game. So we'll see. But I do agree with the standpoint that Dart getting reps and playing well down the stretch has some carryover. But I don't think a win or a loss means anything in terms of Jackson Dart's development and the future of this football team. I think there's no carryover from that standpoint.
Yeah. Well, I guess with that said, that brings us to the close of another edition of Giants Collective. The Tank Bowl's on Sunday, so we will see exactly how it transpires. As always, want to thank you guys and girls for watching. Do us a favor if you haven't hit the thumbs up. If you're watching on YouTube, and subscribe to the Giants Collective, that would help us out greatly. You can check us out wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Amazon, and iHeart. If you listen to us on Apple, could leave a 5-star review. That'd be great. Check us out on TikTok and Instagram as well. And as always, a huge shout out to our sponsors, Sleeper and SeatGeek. So for all Jonna, Anthony, and Entertainah, enjoy the Tank Bowl on Sunday, and we'll see you on Tuesday and talk about exactly what the hell happened. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, everybody. We are out. Peace.
Go Raiders.
Go Raiders.